YouTube since everybody else got a YouTube.
Gotta catch up, man.
Yeah. Gotta catch up.
We gonna do that video, bro. You taking long.
Yeah, I'm gonna figure out something. Probably gonna be talking about black TV cinema since nobody else like talking about it.
His YouTube
of the group is gonna be the Dre Detox album of YouTube channels. It's always coming.
I want you to know, I was back of my head. I'm like, I need a clip to put in the beginning of this video. That's the clip. Welcome. I know you're probably wondering, is this a world of chaos? No. This is not a world of chaos. This is Tesla's locker room talk. Not that kind of locker room talk. We are not doing something above the president. We are not talking about girls on this podcast, unless girls come up in some kind of capacity with all sports. But don't even pay attention to him right now. So my name is JayTezla. You've probably seen me and this gentleman on What Kind of Black Nerd Cast This. You've also seen me on his channel, A World of Chaos. We're also going to have another gentleman join us, Zero, aka the red bearded gin monster. He has a red beard. We know that for a fact.
Just something red, just something. He's light skinned, so he of course has to be known by red something.
Yes. So normally on my channel, you normally see music, you see nerd topics like that stuff. But what people don't know, what people who don't know me know, I am a huge sports fan. As you see, I'm wearing a UFC hoodie. I have Kayos is wearing an NBA hat. Is that for the Pistons or just NBA hat?
Sixers.
Oh, Sixers. Okay.
Still a team
that wears red, white, and blue. So we're good. This is going to be a video only type of podcast. We're going to cover topics every now and then. Big topics that happen throughout sports. Small topics, probably cover the draft, something that affects, stuff like that. So I want to start this inaugural episode with a few topics we're going to go over. We're going to start with the biggest news out of the NFL that happened this morning. We're going to talk about, does the UFC need a 165-pound division? First, let's get into our first topic, which is, JJ, what the fuck are the Houston Texans thinking? So if you don't know, if you've been living under a rock, JJ Watt this morning dropped a video on Instagram with a small little caption. He said he wanted you to hear from him. And in the video, he basically said that he has come to a mutual agreement with the Houston Texans brass, the McNair family, the new GM, the new head coach, that they are mutually parting ways. So as of this moment, the Houston Texans have only one star available on their team as of right now, and they are going into a year where Deshaun Watson now wants out. So once that topic hit, I knew we had to start this show on this topic and this topic alone, because I could not contain myself when I found this out. I didn't find this out until 2 p.m. today, because I woke up, watched WandaVision, great show by the way, and then everyone got hit me like, "You see the news? You see the news?" No, I know the impeachment trial is happening, but I don't know anything else. And then they said, "Oh, you might want to check Twitter." So checking Twitter, saw the news, and my brain pulled a Doctor Strange and didn't know what the hell was going on. So, Chaos, give me your thoughts on JJ Watt being released from the Texans, and then I'll give mine right after.
Yeah, I really didn't even know what I was looking at. Like a lot of people, I wake up, I scratch my butt, I wipe the crust out my eye, and then I check Facebook and Instagram. As
one seems to do.
So when I went to Instagram, it was being shared by ESPN, Bleacher Report, a couple other different sites I follow, and I really didn't pay attention to it because, honestly, it's JJ Watt and Houston Texans. I usually don't give a shit. So I saw it, and I really didn't pay attention, and then I went on the Facebook, and I just started really seeing, somebody actually tagged me in it saying, wow, the Houston Texans actually released him. I'm like, wait, what? And then I watched the video, and I mean, good for you. I mean, JJ Watt is, for his generation, he is the best defensive player. He was in the league years before Aaron Donald, so I can't say Aaron Donald is in the same generation as him because they do have years apart. If you want to say that and lump in Khalil Mack, you could. If I'm looking at all three of them, I think JJ has had the biggest impact on the game. I think Aaron is close, and I think Khalil he's up there. But as far as edge pass rushers,
right?
But I was surprised. I really have no idea, being that I live in Detroit and have to see what the Detroit Lions as an organization does year in and year out, and what they don't do. I have no idea what the Houston Texans are doing right now. They have an incredibly awkward, tense situation going on with Deshaun Watson. Bill O'Brien completely ruined and torpedoed their franchise for years to come. He traded away DeAndre Hopkins, got nothing of value in return, a third rounder and a over the hill, over 30 running back that has seen better days. And David Johnson. Is it David Johnson?
Yeah.
I don't know. He's that irrelevant. So it's a shit show. They have no first round or I think even second round draft picks coming up. They lost a top 3, if you want to be generous, top 3 receiver in the league. I think he's top 2 next to Tyreek Hill. They have nothing going on right now. They lost Jadeveon Clowney a couple years ago. One of the better draft picks they had, even though he was a very late bloomer. The only thing you had right now was JJ Watt to anchor that defense and be an impact player on your defensive end. And you had Deshaun Watson. I personally have never been thrilled with Deshaun Watson. I think he does have talent, but I don't think he's as talented as he thinks he is. Yes, he did lead the league in passing, but that's because they have absolutely no running game. You can use the Matthew Stafford defense. The only reason you have passing yards that are that enormous is because you don't have a running game to rely on. So you are throwing more than you normally would versus the league average. But losing JJ Watt, I think it is going to be something that does hurt the franchise. I don't think it gets them as much goodwill as they think it might by releasing him. I've heard some people make and I don't agree with this argument, wow, JJ gets released because he's white, but Deshaun doesn't get released because he's black. I don't see it that way. I just see it as Deshaun just signed an extension the previous season. You've seen what this franchise has done throughout their 18-year history, which is nothing. So the fact that you re-sign with them and now want to get out, I just can't get jiggy with that shit.
Okay, and Zero just joined on, so let me jump on this topic before
looking like Banksy.
Yeah, looking like Banksy, like he just stole a bunch of shit, Lupin even. I want to bring up a number, just one number, when it comes to this whole
42.
This whole Houston Texans situation. 24. If you don't know what that number signifies, that number signifies
Jack
the
Bauer?
amount of points the Houston Texans scored against the Kansas City Chiefs no more than 2 years ago in the divisional playoffs against Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas City while Patrick Mahomes was available. They had Deshaun Watson, they had JJ Watt, and they had D-Hop. They lost that game 50-7 after the second quarter. They got outscored 50-7. And then since that time, you trade D-Hop for basically a washed up tire and a Yoo-hoo. You get rid of your head coach who should have been gone years ago.
And the fact that he was GM also, which you should never
Which,
do.
by the way, they currently don't have a president right now. Let's focus on that. The owner unfortunately passes away, so his wife has to take over. And at the end of the season, they bring in Ellerby or Easterby, whatever the hell this guy's name is. And there's a clip that's been going around a lot since the end of the season, which is JJ going to Deshaun and saying, "I'm sorry we wasted your season." Because JJ, despite what everyone wants to say about him, saying he's over the hill, the injuries have caught up to him, JJ is a man of honor. JJ has won Man of the Year award, I think more than once, actually.
I think so, yeah.
But he's a man of honor, and he's like, look, we have a promising young quarterback, and I'm sorry we wasted his talents. Because arguably, if I'm looking at the AFC and the young quarterbacks that are the young quarterbacks that are in the NFL right now, Deshaun is top 3. It's really between, to me, it's between as far as a talent. As far as a talent, I say Mahomes number 1 as young quarterbacks. I would say it's an argument between Deshaun, Lamar, and Jared Allen fighting for that second spot. Those 3 are fighting for that number 2 spot.
So a league MVP is fighting for a spot versus the guy who's only been in the playoffs once.
The reason I say that is because that league MVP still has only won 1 game.
I will give you that, but he still does have a league MVP.
And Jared Allen does not have a league MVP to his name and has beaten both of them.
I would add, honestly, and this may be a hot take, but if you don't like it, you can find me on my social media at Team Chaos on Instagram.
Oh Lord, it hasn't even been 5 minutes. He's already on hot takes.
You can honestly, from the sample size that we saw, I'd rather take Joe Burrow over Deshaun Watson.
Wow. But I will say this. You have to think about it from this standpoint. Deshaun Watson came in arguably the best talent out of all 3 of those guys. I mean, he came out of Clemson, national championship, beat Alabama, has hung with Alabama and that defense that has produced nothing but NFL Pro Bowlers. So looking at that, you are now in a situation, if you're Houston, where you're worse for wear than you were 2 years ago. For everyone that's basically, like, I saw something on Twitter that boiled my blood to no end, which was it was the line that said the Houston Texans are the Detroit Lions South. And when I saw that, I was mad.
It said what? Hold on. You said what?
The Detroit Lions South.
Wow.
I honestly wouldn't even give them that much credit because I think the Lions have even still had better talent.
But here's why I got mad at that. The Lions have been in the league for many a moon. The Houston Texans haven't. I think I'm older than the Houston Texans.
The Houston Texans only been around since like 2002.
So we're all older than the Houston Texans. If you think about it from that standpoint, the Houston Texans, if you think about the Lions, I saw that Kayos posted this meme on his Facebook about Matthew Stafford, Calvin Johnson, and Dominic Sue. If you look at that, it said, "Oh, how it'd be great if all 3 of those teams, all players played together." And they did. There's bad management by coaching and by management. The difference I say between that situation and Houston, Detroit didn't blow it in 2 years. They didn't get rid of all those guys in 2 years. Sure. And in all honesty, Detroit made the decision not to do certain things. Stafford was the last to go. Calvin was pretty much banged up and wanted to move on. The Lions were like, no. And Sue, his contract ran out. So let him walk. In this situation, you let a aging veteran that can help a team out right now walk. You let one of the top 3 receivers go to a young quarterback that needed a good receiver, and you gave him up. You got nothing for him.
You got fleeced on that trade.
You got fleeced, and now with this Deshaun Watson situation, now Deshaun's definitely not coming back because if he won't come back before this, he's definitely not now. So now, if I'm a team looking at Houston, I will say this: whatever team gets Deshaun Watson needs to have a nickname behind them, and that nickname is the team that helped save Houston. Because Houston, if I'm Deshaun Watson, I'm looking at it like, well, now you have to trade me because if you don't get rid of me, the optics don't look good for you. You allowed him to walk. Matthew Stafford just was allowed to leave the Lions and go to the Rams. What Kirk Cousins might get traded. You have situations where Hell, Russell Wilson, we don't know what's going on with that situation in Seattle. But if you look at it from a standpoint of you're muted, Zero.
Yeah, Russell tired. He ready to go.
Yeah, if you look
and
at
I'm not mad at that because I mean that's been their biggest detriment. I mean, when he first came in, he had the Legion of Boom, he had Golden Tate as a good blanket receiver, he had beast mode in the backfield. The biggest detriment to that team since he's been there has been their O-line.
Right,
Like he's 5'10" maybe and gets his ass kicked every game.
And if you look at it from a standpoint of what's going to happen next, Deshaun is going like if I'm San Francisco, here's how I look at it. I'm going to give you 2 number 1s, 2 number 2s the next 2 years. Get Deshaun. And while you're at it, go out there and get JJ. So now the 2 players that you wanted to get, the one you don't want to get rid of and the one you had no problem getting rid of are now on a team and can win a championship.
I think the biggest problem with that is I think Houston's going to want too high of an asking price. Like they're sellers and buyers at the same time. They have no way to build this team up to be competitive through the draft because they do not have high draft picks for the next couple seasons.
Well, I'm looking at their draft right now. Their draft right now going to next year. They have the only pick that they have locked in right now is a round 3, number 67 selection. Every pick, they have 2 in the 4th, 1 in the 5th, 3 in the 6th, and 1 in the 7th. None of them are an actual number. They're all what the hells.
And that's the thing. Like you build your team through the lower rounds of the draft with guys that really, especially on the defensive end, but this does not look to be that deep of a draft, and you need too much to build this team up. Plus their cap situation. Like, losing JJ does help their cap, but still, it's not a marquee destination. The best thing they have going for them is it's Houston weather-wise. But right now, with everything going on still in the coronavirus, you're not going to be doing partying like you would normally. So now it's like, okay, that takes that out of it. That takes that warm weather discount out of it.
So here's another big issue. I'm looking at their unrestricted free agents. Here's who's going to be a free agent for them starting in March. So basically, about a month and a half from now. Dylan Cole, Gary Conley, Kyle Emmanuel, Will Fuller, Phillip Gaines, Vernon Hargreaves. That's just the top. So your best corners and your best receiver now can leave. And with the Deshaun Watson situation, why wouldn't they? It's how you're doing him. Why would they re-sign with you guys?
Hey, did Dak ever get his check?
No. Okay. But I'm very shocked at how I was shocked that JJ just says fuck it and I'm out. But
no, that's been something that's been going on for a while. It's been rumblings. It ain't been like a big thing, but he's subtly been hinting that he probably wants to take a move. And JJ Watt is like he's the first A caliber. He has been injured, what unfortunately has dampened his speed and his explosiveness off the line, whether he's down or up. But he should have a chance to go somewhere else and do his thing. Like like unfortunately, Calvin Johnson, I would have loved if Calvin Johnson got to play somewhere else. But shit happens, and he decided he took the Barry Sanders route and then left. And it wasn't. And it wasn't. I think it wasn't as bad. Well, I think Barry Sanders' situation was easier than Calvin because he was trying to keep his money, and they was like, "No, we want your money." I think that was more of a sting.
Yeah, but even with Calvin's situation, it wasn't a sinking ship. It was like this is a burning ship in the ground. Calvin,
it's the Texans. I mean, what do you expect? Like, I mean, they've had granted, they've had way more playoff play than the Lions had. I was just talking to a customer where I work. And he said the last time the Lions won a championship, he was a little boy.
Was that 58, 59?
Somewhere in there. And that wasn't even the NFL.
Yep. They've never even been to a Super Bowl since we've been in the Super Bowl era.
They can't even smell Super Bowl fart. The closest they came to a Super Bowl was in Detroit. That's the most Super Bowl celebrations we've ever had.
But see, that's the thing. That's why I give Detroit more leeway than I will Houston, you have no excuse. You don't. Like, sure, 10 years ago, I would have given you an excuse. Okay, you've got Brady in the East. You've got Big Ben in the north. You've got Phillip Rivers in the west. You've got whoever the fuck comes out of the south, or Andrew Luck. Now, the only person you have to get past, honestly, is Jared Allen and Mahomes. There is no Brady. There is no Big Ben. Phillip Rivers is gone. What is your excuse? You're in a division that you should win every year. Tennessee, I don't care how good Derrick Henry is. They don't have a quarterback. Indianapolis, Andrew Luck's gone.
Oh, you mean Tannehill's not a good quarterback? You don't say.
I like Tannehill for a game manager. I mean, he's a game manager.
He's a game manager. He's not a quarterback.
Right.
That man was a wide receiver who became a quarterback.
That man's a manager at Denny's. But from a standpoint of like your division, Jacksonville, they had one good year and then. So
and the thing is, now you've messed up enough to where I'll even put it like this. For anybody that's a Detroit Lions fan, you know that there was a little window of opportunity the Lions had from about like 2015 to last year, to where Green Bay wasn't looking as formidable as they had been before. If you win maybe 8 games, you might be able to get that wild card spot. You just have to do things right. You don't have to worry about the Bears. Minnesota was good for maybe 2 seasons. Teddy Bridgewater never really worked out there. What was his name? Sam Bradford was a bust like he always has been. So you really only had to worry about one team in your division, and they still could not get over that hump. Now, Minnesota's going to go out and get a better quarterback. You're going to have Chicago, who is a buyer right now, who can pay big money for a quarterback, and is now going to be a destination spot because it's someplace you can go. You have a good defense. You have an okay receiving core. You can do something right there because you only have to worry about one other team in Green Bay in that division. Mm-hmm. Texans are screwed right now because Jaguars, for all intents and purposes, are going to get Trevor Lawrence. They have a new coach. They have an owner who will not hesitate to spend money on them. It is Florida. So you guys wasted an opportunity you could to make yourself competitive in that division. You are about to become the New York Jets of your division.
No, I wouldn't go that far with the Lions. I would say that's definitely the Giants.
You're not talking about the Lions. He's talking
I'm talking about Texans.
Texans. Okay.
I was saying, the Lions had that opportunity a couple of years ago. The Texans had that, and they completely wasted. Now there's no play. Look at the teams in that division. Tennessee is going to be good for a while. Derrick Henry is the marquee running back in football right now. Tannehill is serviceable. If they got somebody even better than him, they are deadly. They have a good defense. They have good corners.
Yeah.
You're screwed.
Indianapolis has the biggest cap of anybody in the NFL right now.
The biggest marquee spot right now. Say they get Carson Wentz. Even though Carson Wentz, I don't think is that great. He's serviceable, but you even put a serviceable quarterback in the Indianapolis system. Frank Wright is a quarterback's coach. You have a good defense. You have a good receiving core. Texans are screwed.
Yeah. So to end this topic off and go to our next topic, I want to ask you guys just quick fire. Where does JJ land?
JJ either goes to who got cap space, honestly. But with him being released, that changes a lot of things for him. No one has to take his contract.
He can sign a 1 year better minimum.
So I can say he probably being somewhere hot that changes where you probably want to go. But I could say he could either go to Chicago because he's from Wisconsin. He played in Wisconsin, so going back to Chicago will be a great spot for him. But just for a home team advantage. Even though I know Wisconsin, Illinois are not the same state, but it's close. So there's a lot of love over there. Mm-hmm. I would love him to come back to Detroit. He originally went to Central Michigan. That's why I say come back to Detroit. But I would love for him to come and play for the Lions, but I doubt that'll ever happen. And if we think hot states, I'm thinking Bucks maybe.
The only reason I won't say Bucks is because I think that cap is too dead. That cap is way too dead. They have to resign damn near everybody.
They're granted a few players like what's his name? The wide receiver, not the wide receiver, Evans. He said, you could take whatever, you could take some out of my check to make sure we all stay together. I don't honestly think the cap is that high. to be honest, in my
And
opinion,
the cap's not going to change going into next year because it's a COVID year.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't think it's that high. And if you get a 1 year vet contract, he should be.
What's that like 8 mil? I mean,
that's not gonna do nothing. They can move some shit around. Some other people will hopefully prioritize themselves to bring JJ Watt to them.
And then, like you said, Mike Evans is willing to restructure his contract for that. And say Brady don't do that again, because Brady used to do that all the time in New England. He's like, hey, just give me my shit in a signing bonus and keep me on a $2 million contract. I'll just take the $40 million up front as a signing bonus.
Brady has nothing to lose at this time. He the GOAT of the NFL. He not the GOAT of all sports, but he the GOAT of the NFL. Let's say I could see him going to the Rams. Him and Sam Darnold playing on the same line. That'll be nuts. And then I'm not the best fan of Stafford. I think he was a very suitable quarterback, but we got to see what he do with a new line. That line might be great for him. It might not be that good for him. I mentioned this.
1.3 million. That's what I'm looking at right now.
That's what they got left?
That's the minimum, I think, for a vet.
For a vet? I think JJ is humble enough to take something like that.
Yeah. If he's in a winning situation, I'm going to just say San Francisco.
I like that one. That's why I said the Rams. I like that. I like that.
That's mean.
I like that.
Tampa Bay.
Yep.
I might say Chicago.
I'm gonna throw two out there. You don't
want the cold, and like I said, you only got to worry about Green Bay in that division.
I'm gonna throw two,
and they ain't above reproach. Like Aaron Rodgers has holes in his game. That team does have a lot of holes, and even going down to the coaching. So they're just good enough to be better than every other team in their division. If you put Khalil Mack and JJ Watt on the same defense,
that's what I'm saying. There's some nasty lines out there. It's some nasty lines, and you put JJ on there, it's gonna be trouble. It's gonna be hell to pay.
So I look at it from a standpoint of teams that he can automatically go to, and they're a contender, or they're at least got a shot at it.
Or hell, even the Saints. I can see him going to the Saints.
I don't say the Saints because I think they still got to figure out what they're gonna do with Drew Brees.
They got plenty of time.
But
the first team I bring up
say Carson Wentz goes to Chicago. You guys, Carson Wentz as your quarterback. He'd be the second best quarterback in the division. No offense to Goff, but it is what it is. Yeah. And then you got Khalil Mack and JJ Watt with some other talent on that defense.
So I'm gonna throw out one.
Who they got a receiver? Well, I'm gonna let you finish because we keep interrupting you.
They don't. I mean, they got an okay receiving core, but it's serviceable.
The first team I'm gonna throw out is Cleveland. Cleveland has a damn good defensive line. You look at it from from a standpoint. You don't have to worry about the other person on the side of you because you got a damn good person on the other side of you playing defense. They have a great defensive linebacking core and cornerbacks. And on offense, that's set because we saw what they did last year. They made the playoffs without their best receiver.
Honestly, I feel like he's their worst receiver.
The second team I'm thinking of, and this is just recency bias, Kansas City. Kansas City needs another defensive lineman to help with that. That's the biggest issue that they ran to the Super Bowl.
The biggest issue was the offensive line.
They were injured. That's for sure. They were injured. They were
injured. But if you look at Kansas City's defensive line, when they ran the ball, they never ran to the side D4 was on. They ran to the opposite side. So if you put JJ on that opposite side, that becomes
collapse
more
everything in.
It boxes everything in. So now you got to run to the middle. And I think
play action.
Well, play action for sure, but I think Kansas City's biggest issue is they need someone on the opposite side of the line, and they need a straight up knockout artist as linebacker. And speaking of knockout artists, we're gonna move to our next topic, which is
wait. Before you go into the next topic, I know what the next topic is. The reason why I said the teams I said is because I don't think JJ is gonna go anywhere that's not competitive.
I think Kansas City is gonna win. Kansas City is gonna go back to the AFC Championship next year. That's his best shot at Super Bowl. Who else in the AFC is gonna stop them?
I will say that
they got
Super
everybody
Bowl,
under contract. They got everybody under contract.
I will say this: that Super Bowl exposed Holmes. it's going to be next year. It's going to be different, regardless what his line was looking like. It exposed him.
I don't think it's so much it exposed him. I think it more so exposed that receiver core, because again, I still think the best play
tight end and the second,
and that's my issue. That's my issue. I was wondering the entire game, where the hell is Le'Veon Bell? Where is he at? He was
rapping.
If I'm running that game, I run the same way I run an air raid offense. I put Le'Veon Bell in the backfield and use him to catch passes. If you can't get Tyreek open, then use Le'Veon Bell as a safety valve, so that way the linebackers have to come back.
I don't even think that would have helped because he didn't have that much time to even get it. He didn't have that much time.
But that's what I'm saying. Even
he was throwing passes laterally. He was throwing passes laterally, and he almost completed it. If the motherfucker
that's my biggest issue. The receivers weren't catching shit because I'm sorry.
Think about one thing that Ndamukong Suh has always been great at is stopping the run. So you were not going to be able to run. He is one of the best run stoppers of his generation, if not the best.
I think my biggest issue with that game before we move to our next topic was the fact that Mahomes was horizontal to the fucking field, threw the ball to the end zone. My man's had the ball in his hands and it hit his face mask. At that point, I'm getting up. If I'm Mahomes, grabbing him by his face mask, taking his helmet off, go home. Go home. I threw you a perfect ball and I'm injured. That's the biggest thing. Mahomes was injured. Two of your linemen are out.
The biggest thing I think was he had never been punched in the mouth in his entire career. Not in high school, not in college, not so far in the pros. That was the first time he got smacked like a bee and said, "What?"
I think it's gonna be a rematch next year. I can't see anybody else getting better. I mean,
that's the thing. That's the dangerous part. He's humbled now. He knows defeat.
That's scary. And that's scary for everybody.
Now that's the thing. A lot of things they said about this past season with them, even though they were 15-3. I mean, 12-3. They rested on their laurels a lot this year. They came back from a lot of fourth quarter deficits and second half deficits because they got a little cocky and they got a little lazy because they were the Warriors in 2018.
Yeah, and they also have all their picks going into this year.
That's what makes them dangerous too.
Okay, so going into our next topic, which is kind of involved in the jacket I'm wearing. So I had this thought while watching the upcoming UFC Embedded for the fight that's happening tomorrow. The UFC has a problem on their hands. After Conor McGregor's loss to Dustin Poirier, I am a Conor fan, but I wasn't surprised by the loss whatsoever.
Night.
Yeah, night. There, I could break that fight down in so many ways as what Conor did.
You ever went to night, nigga?
Yeah. The issue I have with the UFC is they have a problem on their hands because the 155 to 170 divisions, they have too many people waiting in the wings to be champion. There's no reason Charles Oliveira, Michael Chandler, if Max Holloway moves up, Kevin Lee, all these guys, Gilbert Burns, who's fighting this weekend for the 170 belt, they should be champion in some capacity. Should the UFC start? The UFC has prided itself on not having many belts in their company. The same because boxing has way too many belts. Boxing literally has 5 belts per weight class. Mm-hmm. Should the UFC move to a model that there is a 165 champion, and would that profit?
I think it will. That's more. I'm not the most well versed in MMA, but for especially UFC, just in general the whole sport, I know a little bit about it. I think that gives a lot of people more opportunities, especially if someone is juggling their weight, whether they're up or down. I think 165 is a nice weight to sit at, and for a belt. And it keeps things competitive, especially where you have, like I said, like if you got people juggling their weight to stay in a certain weight class. So what's the weight classes that's before and after that you're trying to slide one into?
So it would be between lightweight and welterweight. So right now, I'm just going through the lightweight division right now, which could be but still champion up, which is another issue I'm pissed off about. Right now, from 1 to 10, it goes the following: Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje, Charles Oliveira, Michael Chandler, Tony Ferguson, Conor McGregor, Rafael Dos Anjos, Daniel Hooker, Benil
Why is he so high
Dariush.
still?
Huh?
Why is Connor so high still?
Connor was number 4.
Why is he so high?
Because that's his second loss at lightweight. Dos Anjos has lost multiple times at lightweight.
Okay.
And he's a big draw. Benil Dariush and Paul Felder are number 10 for the lightweight division.
Well, hell, have McConnor go up to 165 then.
Yeah, and that way you get rid of the Connor situation in realistically, if I'm playing it right, I put Connor versus Diaz as the 165 belt. But for 170, you have Gilbert Burns with Kamaru as champion right now. Gilbert Burns, Colby Covington, Leon Edwards, Jorge Masvidal, Stephen Thompson, Wonderboy Thompson, Michael Chiesa, Tyron Woodley. Why is he 7? Damian Maya, Neil Magny, and the Viense Luque as number 10. Just in that list alone, there are at least 10 champions.
I think Tyron Woodley would probably drop. If it was a 165, he would probably drop.
He would, but the issue is I don't think Dana's going to want him to be champion again because Dana was.
And then you go with the politics bullshit.
Oh, no. Not from I'm not saying from politics bullshit. I'm saying from a standpoint of, Lord have mercy, you were a boring fighter when you were champion. Like, God, you were boring. Okay. I am all for pulling out strategies and using strategies when you want to fight somebody. But there's no way in the hell, if I am a punch first fighter, that I hold the record for the least amount of punches thrown and the fight went 5 rounds. And by the way, it's not when just punches thrown, it was punches and kicks. The least amount in a 5-round fight. There's no way you can do that.
I think a lot of these athletes, that is a heavy contact sport. I think a lot of these athletes are looking at their life expectancy more than anything now. Because Tyron, he's had a belt before, so you can't take it away from him. Tyron. He's had it. Probably saying his name wrong. He's had a belt before, so you can't take that away from him.
Oh, for sure.
So one of those things is kind of like, do I overshoot and get killed, or do I just play it safe and just see what I get?
Oh, I see that for sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But Chaos, what do you think about this?
Like you said, boxing. One thing that's turned off a lot of people, especially casual fans for boxing, it's too many belts.
Yeah.
I mean, you have too many weight classes. I mean, it's a weight class, every 10, almost 10 pounds. You know, it's gotten to the point where you see guys. I mean, yeah, it's nice to see a guy with 10 belts around his arms, but it gets a little diluted, especially when you look at the competition. So I'd rather just start building up better fighters. I mean, building up better rivalries, because that's one thing that Dana really likes to do. He likes to put 2 guys that really have clashing styles and put them versus each other because it's great for a pay-per-view. It's almost an embarrassment of riches because, like you said, you have at least 6 out of the 10 could be champion, and that's still being generous.
So I hate to cut you off, but there are 17 weight classes in boxing currently right now. There are 4 belts per weight class, so there are 68 belts.
That's too many.
That's a lot of belts.
That's a lot, and especially when you have guys that can jump up or down and still hold on to the previous belt, even though they're not in that actual weight class anymore. You shouldn't be a junior heavyweight and be a junior lightweight, and you still got the belt.
But that's boxing, the thing that they're guys though with the boxing, just like Roy Jones, he had belts in multiple at different weight classes. It's one of those things like I'm that great. I can fight at any weight, and I'm successful and I can win. That's part of it. I don't think it's probably more now that it's been more attainable, but back then when niggas was getting knocked the fuck out, it was less attainable. So it was like it was a big thing when you had more than one belt.
I think it's more so come down to the fact that now everyone wants to be double champion, and that's fine to a certain degree. But you also got to look at it from a standpoint of the weight cut and the way weight cuts are going now. I don't like seeing smaller fighters fighting at weights that don't look like they belong at there. Like Michael Chandler belongs in the 155 division. If I ever saw Michael Chandler in the welterweight division, I would stop watching the fight because there's no I don't care how much weight you put on. You look small. It would be like seeing Wolverine fight the Hulk. without powers. It just doesn't work. So from a standpoint of what I think for certain, like, especially if we know, like, to me, the lightweight and welterweight divisions are the two heaviest rosters in the UFC.
Where is Izzy at? He's lightweight, right?
Who?
Where is Izzy at? Are you talking about
Izzy,
boxing?
Izzy is at he's at middle. No, yeah, he's at middleweight. He's the current middleweight champion, and he's challenging for the light heavyweight champion. That's a different discussion, because with it's easier to go from middleweight to lightweight the same way it's easier to go from light heavyweight to heavyweight. Like those weight classes aren't so they're not as they're.
It's not a drastic change.
Mm-hmm. Well, not just that, they're not very. They're very top heavy. Like short of the champion and the number 2 and 3. There's nobody really below them that you're like, oh yeah, they need to be champion. Like when John Jones was light heavyweight champion, it was just Daniel Cormier and then Gustafsson, and then everyone after that was like, meh. And then in heavyweight, it's Stipe, it's DC, it's Ngannou, it's Derek Lewis, and then and then Blades, and then meh. So or Brock, if Brock were ever show, but then I think Brock. By the way, I had the conversation with someone. I said if Brock came back right now to the heavyweight division, he'd get his ass kicked. Like Brock would get his head knocked off back to fucking North Dakota. That's how
now, yeah, because he's been off for what, 3?
You know, that's the thing. I think people don't. I think when it comes to, I think people are still stuck on the idea. It's kind of the same thing with like Anderson Silva. I like the Anderson Silva versus Israel Adesanya fight, but I said going into that fight, if that was prime Izzy versus prime Spider, I'm picking Izzy. Izzy is just better. Izzy is better at spacing than Spider was. Spider
was close. He was a close combat fighter.
Yeah, Spider just moved at different angles that nobody was ready for. Izzy is a student, and Izzy as he's literally a glitch. It doesn't make sense how good you are and you can get better during the fight. So I think he's one of the 5 anomalies in MMA and UFC altogether. But
that's because he had that one fight where he gave it his all, so he he can go further. So it's like he's evolving mid-match.
It's almost I consider Izzy the closest thing we're gonna get to a Shonen Jump character, because like quite literally in between the fight that made me think this was a fight he had against Kevin Gastelum, who's fighting this weekend as well. During the 4th or 5th round, he quite literally he's swinging at Kelvin, gets him in a headlock, pulls him down, then use that to get into a triangle choke, then uses that to get into a top position in one move. Those kind of like, you don't, that's so much flow state in how he fights, and you see with other fighters too. But back to the 165 part, there's too many fighters that are fighting right now, and they don't have long contracts. It's not like you have a 10 fight contract. The most you're going to get is 4 or maybe 5. Why am I doing this if I'm not fighting for a belt? And I get the whole jockeying for a belt. That's why you see more Twitter fingers with the lightweights and the welterweights. They all want a shot at the belt. That's just a pure simple fact. If it was me, I know the UFC doesn't like copying any other organization when it comes to their belts, but they need a tournament. They need a tournament. Just set up, pick 4 from the lightweights, pick 4 from the welterweights. Huh? Lord. Pick 4 from the lightweights, pick 4 from the welterweights. I can't stand you. And have them just go and just do a tournament. Like, it makes the most sense over a year. Make a new belt and go from there, because
that's Izzy's background.
Over one last topic, because me and Kayos have kind of covered this topic on his channel, but we never got Zero's opinion on this. So Campbell in Detroit. our new head coach for the Detroit Lions, aka related to Team Chaos, is bringing in a tearing off kneecaps type of attitude to the Detroit Lions. He has brought in a bunch of African American assistants and head coaches.
Man, like that's why we don't talk about him, man. Like he like a third cousin twice removed. Like like he used to talk about that. He used to talk about that stuff when he was a kid. We used to think he was weird back then.
But
too.
So I wanted to bring that up because the Lions they've made the move. If we had to grade them right now on the moves they made, what is the grade we would give them right now in terms of, for one, bringing in this new coaching staff, and two, getting rid of Stafford?
A C.
A C, really?
B minus.
The reason why I say a C is because we haven't done enough. And I don't give a fuck what coach it is. It would have to be Jesus himself coming down from the fucking golden arches. And I'd say, we in there for me to say anything about the Lions. I'm in an abusive relationship with the Lions every year. They tell me they're going to be better and they're going to do better, and they don't.
This year I said no, and I went to the Bucks.
So, you went to the Bucks because of Brady. I ain't trying to hear that shit.
Yeah.
You're a Brady fan, so I don't want to hear that shit. And
right,
we
knew
fan,
that.
So
like
me just going to Brady.
I was never on the Brady train.
I don't know why I did that. I'm like, shit. I don't know why I did that.
But so you said a C?
But I give him a C. I give him a C because that's a lot of room for improvement. Prove me wrong. Right now, innocent to proven guilty. Just prove me wrong. Like, show me something. Go to the playoffs and win a playoff game. That's how bad the Lions are. I'll be happy if they won the first round of the playoffs.
That's our
fucking wild card game or something. I'll be happy if they win a playoff game. Show me some promise where I can go into next year like, all right, we got a chance. We got some nice, depending on what's going on. We good to go. But you gotta show me. You gotta show me something. So I'm saying the C because there's room for improvement. I'm not gonna fail them. I'm not gonna give them a D or an F. Goff is a very I guess suitable quarterback. It's not like he a mud off the street. He came from a championship or a contending team with the Rams. So it's not like he's not like he's a bum.
He's in the Super Bowl 3 years ago.
Yeah, so it's like there's an opportunity for him to shine. Our offense needs to be our offensive line needs to be better, and then our backfield needs to be better. And then offense, we need shit on defense. And then you tire out your fucking defense when your offense is trash. So you can't blame everything on defense when they out on the fucking field every 3 plays.
That's why I give him a B minus, because everything you said, but they actually impressed me by trading Stafford. Granted, he said he wanted the trade, so he initiated it, but the fact that they actually did it, that is the last, it's middle of February now. The last 2.5 months of Detroit Lions organizational moves have been the most surprising possibly in my lifetime. You actually fired the worst coach you've ever had and one of the worst coaches in the history of the NFL. You fired one of the worst.
Doesn't have to go back to New England, by the way.
Huh?
Doesn't have to go back to New England.
What?
He went back to New England.
New England?
Yeah. That's why Stafford said, I will go anywhere but New England.
Yeah.
But think about that.
They actually
he would rather think about it. To go anywhere. The division that the biggest threat is Jared Allen.
Well, and he's coming too. But they had the worst coach and the worst GM in their franchise history, and arguably in the history of the league at one time. They had talent on their team and completely wasted it. See, last season they won 3 games and tied a game. So the fact that they actually got rid of both of them, they had a tie game last year. Remember, it was 3-12-1. That's how bad the team was. They tied. It was the game with what was it?
No. They went 5-11. They went 5-11.
Not this past season. Not this past season. The season before that.
Before that. Okay.
So
we should got rid of Carwell.
Never. I mean, if your argument was he hadn't won enough, but he had won the most games in that amount of time than any coach in your franchise's history. So your argument was moot. But the fact that they actually did it, because honestly, none of us expected them to do it. None of us expected them to give Patricia the axe, and let alone Quinn. Oh my God. They're going to fire their GM, who has not drafted a single player worth of merit since other than Kenny Galladay. His biggest whip was Jared Davis.
I distinctly remember,
and they got rid of him.
I distinctly remember saying, because I watched the Thanksgiving game, because despite how bad the Lions may or may not be, I always watch the Thanksgiving game. It's because it's tradition. You know, you eat turkey, you feel sad, and then you go to sleep. I was leaving my mom's house during halftime of that game, and I said to her, I turned around and said, the Lions are going to fire both the head coach and the GM before the weekend ends. And sure enough,
he lied.
Boom. So I give everything the Lions have done so far, from trading Stafford to bringing in everyone they brought in, I give them a B+. And the reason that is because of this. This is the first time in my lifetime where the Lions are walking into a draft with more optimism than I have ever seen them walk into. I have never in my life seen the Lions say, yeah, we got a number 1 pick, we got a top 10 pick. We also have 2 backloaded number 1s that we could possibly move anywhere we feel like. We have a second, third, we have 2 number 3s. We have an okay quarterback that everyone kind of forgets, which, by the way, I want to point this out more than anything else. The Minnesota Vikings have been pretty good defense for the past 5-10 years, give or take. Super Bowl caliber worthy. Does anyone remember what happened the last time that the LA Rams and the Minnesota Vikings played each other on a primetime game? Oh, that's right. Jared Goff threw for almost 500 yards with no primary receiver.
Think about the greatest Monday Night Football game of all time. Him versus...
he went toe-to-toe with Mahomes with no primary receiver. I don't care what anyone says. Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, and Sammy Watkins are not a number 1. They're not. You walk into this year, if it's me looking at who your unrestricted free agents are, I'm re-signing Romeo Okwara. I'm re-signing Kenny Galladay.
I'm not signing Galladay.
Well, that's what we have for later. But I'm re-signing those 2, and I'm letting everyone else walk. Because the problem that I had with Patricia more than anything else, you had too much talent sitting. Austin Bryant was a top 10 defensive lineman from Clemson. They drafted him. He has not played more than 5 games.
Why is that a thing? Drafted a cornerback at 3.
And you know what? Here's the thing. Look,
3rd overall pick, and you drafted corner.
I will say this in defense. And I don't like defending the Lions because they give me no reason to. Not every top prospect out of college can play pro football. The speeds are different. Just like going from high school to college, the speeds are different. He might not be able to keep up yet. He might have needed that year. And he might be a beast this year coming up, but he might have needed the year. And if your coaching staff sucks too, you don't even have the right.
And that's the worst
guidance.
part. That's the worst part. The coaching that they had for the corners last year was god awful. Bringing in Pleasant from the Saints, where the Saints were nothing but a bunch of B's down there when they were playing on defense. He coached the defensive backs in New Orleans. That cornerback corps was amazing last year. They've been there for the past couple of years. I think the Lions are going more toward, especially with bringing in Campbell. I think they're going more toward a college style playing that the LA has, and to a degree, Kansas City has to a degree. Whereas like almost like a college, a pro college type of team. If that's the team we're gonna get for the next couple of years, I'm fine with that, because I'm not saying the Lions are gonna go out and make the playoffs next year or anything like that. Or I'm not saying they're gonna win.
I hope they do. Shit.
I mean, I
honestly think it depends on who Chicago puts his quarterback. If Chicago gets a marquee Watson, Wentz type quarterback,
they won't.
Even if they do a trade with Jimmy Garoppolo from Chicago's gonna drop Francisco.
Chicago's too stupid. Chicago goofed one time and didn't draft Mahomes, Watson, or Wentz. So no, I don't want to hear Chicago. Oh, Chicago might get a return back. Fuck them. My thought process is with the Lions, especially what you bring in someone like John Dorsey who was in Cleveland and put the pieces in Cleveland to where they are now. Cleveland went from being a high draft pick 2 years ago to being in the playoffs. And
they did the rebuild right. They knew they weren't going to be good this year. So what they did is they developed their young talent and just said, hey, we're just going to go in the draft and get the highest pick we can and get the best young prospect we can. And look what they did. You got Baker, who's serviceable. He's a little over serviceable.
Same thing as golf.
Then you got Myles Garrett, who was a top 5 player at his position, a top 15 player probably in the league. And then, even though I think he's greatly overrated, you do have Odell Beckham Jr., which, if nothing else, he's going to command a defense's respect. Then you also have Kareem Hunt, who literally fell into your lap. Not to mention, what's their marquee running back? Nick Chubb.
Nick Chubb.
Top 5 running back and is a great receiver out of the backfield. So, I mean, they could not get it right eventually.
You're skipping a receiver, though.
I think Landry. You got Jarvis Landry.
Yeah.
You got Jarvis Landry. You got Donovan Jones. He's the force over there.
So I mean that's what the Lions need to do. They need to realize they are not going to hit a home run. They from the previous regime have had so many whiffs that they can't not build on what they have now. You drafted, and I think what's our tight end's name?
Hawkinson.
I like Hawk. Like him. Would not have drafted his ass at 9. The cornerback we got, young kid, might turn out to be good. Damn sure not draft him with a 3rd overall pick in that draft.
Oh, for sure. I was
horrible.
Me and you had that conversation during the draft. I would have drafted Chase Young, but that's just me.
So that you have to take a look at the talent you have right now. Kenny Galladay, he is a good receiver. I cannot pay him the money that he wants to be paid.
But see, that's the thing I'm thinking about when it comes to a lot of these players. I think a lot of these players, especially with Stafford gone, people have been saying this over the wire since Campbell got hired. Players and coaches are going to want to come play for him. And I think Galladay's been rather quiet about this. And I think if they don't pay him, they more likely will franchise tag him and then pay him the following year.
He's gonna get tagged.
But here's the thing: if you tag him in a year where not a lot of money will be made from fans coming in, all that kind of stuff, that's actually a blessing in disguise because you can then pay him later and make it a backloaded deal.
Exactly, and then you can franchise him up to 3 times.
Right.
So I mean, hell, who else? I mean, if Goff balls out this next year. Okay, then you have a situation where do you pay Goff? I mean, Goff's still under contract. Do you pay Galladay or do you?
But that's the crazy. But see, that's the blessing in this. Goff only has to play for us for 1 year. We can drop him after the year 2. The way I look at it, if I'm Detroit, there are one or two options you have here. You can either draft at number 7 and then use one of those future picks to buy your way back into the first round. Or I trade with Carolina because Carolina's openly made it known they need a quarterback. Trade with them, give them your number 7. I'll take your number 8 and your 2nd rounder. Give me that. I'll take Micah Parsons, and then I'll come back in the draft, use a future first pick, and get someone like a Jamar Chase, get someone like a Jalen Waddle, get someone, and then later in the draft, there are quarterbacks that are going to be hard to make. You're not getting a Patrick Mahomes. You're not getting a Tom Brady, but you're going to get somebody.
Wait. Stop it. I understand how great Tom Brady is, but where did he get drafted at?
6.
Okay, so let's not do that. He got drafted at 6. He got drafted at 6.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. You're not going to get someone that is a Tom Brady or a Patrick Mahomes in this draft later in the draft. But you're going to get someone that can at least be serviceable and can be a franchise quarterback going into the next couple of years. Someone like a Kellen Mond out of Texas A&M. Someone like an Ian Book out of Notre Dame. A Kyle Trask out of Florida. Those kind of players can come here, learn under Goff for maybe 1 or 2 years, and then they take over.
One thing to keep your eye on too that is starting to get a little interesting. Might be that in love with Tua.
I wouldn't touch Tua. I'm sorry. I wouldn't touch Tua with a 10-foot pole. I'm sorry. Some by him just says broken.
The fact that
he got injured. He got injured.
And any QB is that injured in college.
And it's sad. And the sad thing is, low key, I think his brother's a better player than he is.
I've heard some people make that comparison. And
look
look
up Maryland's tape for this year. Maryland, he was a quarterback. He's way better. I think he's better than him. But I think the Lions have an opportunity to do something special. Especially I see that Sheila Ford Hamp ain't playing no games. She's like, look, I will fire you niggas with
the fact that she fired both Tweedledee and Tweedledum. She has my respect. And she has my attention right now. The fact that you actually did that, honestly, I jumped out of bed when that happened. I did a victory lap around my living room. I ran around this living room when I saw that. That was some good news.
Because this year is going to be interesting as to what happens in free agency. There are a lot of players that are going to move. You're going to have someone like a Juju Smith-Schuster that is going to be available for some team. If we could just,
I don't think that many teams are going to put that on him because he's a distraction. And
he's gone.
You know what they say?
He's gone from Pittsburgh. I think he's gone from Pittsburgh.
Of babes. He's not a babe, but Antonio Brown is a fool. But he did say something that really brought my attention to it. Juju is not that great of a receiver. When you look,
it was because of Antonio. It was because of Antonio.
When you look at his numbers. He wasn't to talk all this talk he was talking. I'm like, kid, your numbers ain't putting up.
And you would think, oh well, Antonio was talking bullshit. Maybe if they bring in Chase Claypool, maybe Juju will be better. He ain't gotten better since then.
He's just a TikTok star that has an NFL contract.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting going into the free agency, and we'll definitely probably cover the beginning of free agency if something big happens. But I think a lot of players we move. You look at someone like an Allen Robinson out of Chicago. Who's to say he stays there throughout the rest of the year? Whatever the hell happened with Kirk Cousins. Is Aaron Rodgers going to stay in Green Bay more than this year? We'll see what happens. I'm very interested to see how this season goes, but this is unfortunately the end of the first episode. The debut episode is ending this way with us talking about the Lions. I didn't think that would be what will happen. So I want to thank you all for coming out. I want to give these guys an opportunity to shoot their social media out to you guys so you all can follow them as well. So Kayos, give us your social.
Yeah, you can find me at Team Kayos. It's Kayos on Twitter and Instagram. You can find my YouTube channel, Team Kayos, where I have coming weekly videos on top 10s, reviews, and a lot of good content. You can find my podcast, The World of Chaos, on Anchor, Apple, Spotify, Google. You can find me on Facebook. Just look up Chaos. You will see my face. And you can find me in the Wakinda Black Nerdcast. This pages on Facebook, the Facebook group, and the YouTube channel.
Zero, let them know who you are.
You can find me at Wakinda Black Nerd Cast is this on Facebook. I don't have.
You almost fucked it up just a little bit.
You said what?
You almost fucked it up just a little bit.
Yeah. It's a tongue twister. But you can find me there as well on Instagram as Red Bearded Gent, Twitter as well. I'm working on figuring out what I'm gonna do on YouTube since everybody else got a YouTube.
Gotta catch up, man.
Yeah.
Group is gonna be the Dre Detox album of YouTube channels. It's always coming.
Want you to know, I was back of my head. I'm like, I need a clip to put in the beginning of this video. That's the clip.
That's cool.
And don't worry about it.
I'm not mad at it.
It's coming.
But yeah, you can.
It's coming.
In all those places, especially with the podcast. Follow us at Wakinda Black Nerdcast is this on Instagram as well as on Facebook, like I said before, as well as my gaming channel, which is working on being revitalized. Blacklist Gamers, and that's it for me.
Okay, thank you. And you can find me at JayTezla. Well, you're already here, so you should be able to find me anywhere. On Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at JayTezla, JayTezla. I do music as well, even though I'm not doing music as much now because YouTube and Instagram are becoming the bane of my existence. JayTezla.bandcamp.com. You can find any of the writings I do at JayTezlaNerd.wordpress.com and sportsbyjaytezla.wordpress.com. I am also part of the what kind of Black Nerdcast is this as well. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I think we have Twitter. Do we have Twitter?
We don't have a Twitter.
Yeah,
we don't
I ain't got time. I ain't got time for it.
Facebook and Instagram. You can also find us on Anchor and every place you can find us on podcasts. We are there. We just our Ray Lewis episode with number 52. So that is out right now. We are talking about lists and many other things where I also apologize to Ray Fisher as well. So all that stuff is on there. Thank you all for coming out. This is the first episode, but it will not be the last. So please enjoy yourself, but please get the fuck out. Peace.